Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Sapatantikam Panchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Chapatitanam Pavanidha Vishnudevya Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, we're gathered here today to talk about Krishna, because if we talk about Krishna, then our consciousness goes up. Whatever you talk about, your consciousness will follow, will take you. If we talk about things in this world, then our consciousness is focused there. And one time Prabhupada said something quite interesting. I don't know if you'll understand. I'll try to explain it. I guess he was looking at Newsweek or Time or some magazine. He was saying that if you look at the magazines, it makes the world appear to be real. Because from his vision as a pure devotee of Krishna, he doesn't see this world as real, like we see it. Because we identify with the body, then we think, everything's real. It's my wife, my husband, my family, my country, my father, my mother. It all seems real to us because we don't remember our past life. We can't see in the future. This is all we know. So, but of course, from his vision, it's not real. But he said, when you read the magazines, it makes everything look real, like this is the real world. Kind of interesting. But anyway, that's my experience. When you engage in talking about Krishna, it expands your perception of reality. Just like if we look at time. So you're 20, 30, whatever, right? You're in your 30s, early 30s, mid-30s, something like that. What? 30s. 30s. So I'm now entering 60s. So I have 30 more years for you, but it's not much. I mean, when you're 30, somebody 60 is pretty old.
No, we're checking.
It's only 30 years. It's not a long time. So now you start, and so our experience or our remembrance, our reality, your reality is 30 years, 35 years, right? That's your reality. My reality is 63 years. That's the reality. Now start thinking in terms of 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 years. 10 million. 1,000,000,000 years, 10 billion, 100 billion, It's a new a different reality, right? Thinking in terms of the numbers of living entities. How many living entities? Not just humans, but counting the animals, the insects, not just this planet, not just this universe. There's a different reality out there, right? But our normal reality is what? My job, my home. This is it's like the center of the universe. So it's very easy to think this is everything, right? Then there's also another reality, and that's Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's Leela. That's a whole different reality. It has nothing to do with this reality. And so Krishna comes to make us aware of that reality. And ultimately, he comes to awaken our affection or attachment. That's the real reason. And to understand that reality is real, is the reality, and this reality is not, but it just seems like it is. And so what happens is that when we begin taking to spiritual life, one of the things that happens or should happen or is supposed to happen or we are instructed to make happen is become a little detached from this life, this body. This is like, it's only, like this is 35, 40 years ago, 70 years ago, we all had different bodies. There was a different reality, right? And then another 70, 80, there was another reality. We don't even remember what it was. But this now is, this is real. This is the reality. So, when you're taking the spiritual life, we're trying to get out of that conception, and we're trying to understand that reality is with Krishna. That's what we left, and that's what we're trying to get back to. But in the conditioned state, that doesn't seem normal. This seems normal, right? This is like everything. Like you drive in your car 2 hours a day. So for you, that's like normal. Your car is like your comfort zone, kind of. You spend so much time in it. I mean, that's 10 hours a week or more if you drive in the weekends. So it's like your reality, part of your reality is your car and you drive it, right? Or, here's part of our reality, right? All my contacts.
Yeah.
There's like lots. I have lots of names in here on my calendar, in my email. Here's my this is my world. This is what's real. Not really, but it seems real, right? So, then there's this whole other reality, the spiritual world, where it's eternal, where we all have a position. Every one of us has an eternal position, and chanting Hare Krishna awakens that. So we at some point in our spiritual journey, we're meant to have a desire to awaken that relationship. Just like there's so many relationships here, right? And when you're young, like a young woman especially, when you're 18, 20, 25, strong desire to have a relationship with a man. Men are not so, maybe later, not always so strong. That's in woman's nature. So relationship, like strong desire to have a relationship. Or a man may have strong desire. Right? And then what happens next? Strong desire to have children. And then when you have children, connect with the children, right? So because of these strong relationships, again, it's hard to connect to this reality because you can't see Krishna. It's not, you can see your daughter, you can see your son. There's immediate connections. You can see your husband and wife, immediate connection. But at spiritual life, we're meant to develop a desire to connect with that relationship more strongly than any other relationship we have. That's perfection. That I want that relationship. And not that I want that relationship so I can ask him for something, but I want that relationship out of love and affection. I can show him my love and affection. That's like where it takes you. That's the end. But in our present state, in conditioned state, it's hard to relate to. It doesn't seem real. It's like, this seems like normal life, Just go to work, come home, cook, watch the news, play with the kids, go to sleep, get up, go to work. I was thinking the other day, how people will say, well, you just live this life, you just enjoy it, and then you die. And they kind of accept that pattern. And then I was thinking, well, if life is just meant for that, is that how you would, if you could create, enjoyment, is that how you would create it? You have to, spend 15, 20 years growing up, going to school, being bullied by people, and all of that, right? And all the study, and then you have to, you get a job. It's like, is that the job would you really do that if you didn't have to? Most people wouldn't. And then all the, like if we look at our life, it's like we're always dodging. It's too cold, so put warm clothes on. It's too hot, put the AC on. It's too cold, put the heat on. We don't realize it, but we're always dodging. Go to work a little early so I can miss the traffic. Or go to this store because things are less expensive. It's always there's always something. It's not the way that you would think. If you could enjoy any way you want, if you had the power to make things any way you want, that's not the way you would do it, would you? Would you make your body like this? You've got a few pains here, you get tired. No. So it's interesting, how this seems so real, and we become so satisfied with it. And Krishna is saying in the Gita, he said, no. There's this whole other place that you have an eternal position there, but you don't realize it. because this seems real to you. And so what spiritual life means is you develop a desire to be there in relationship with Krishna, in affection, in service and love, which is why we all want to love here, because it's just a reflection of that. But it takes time to build that desire. So what Krishna does to help us build that desire, he makes the world the way it is, so at some point in life we sit back and think, wait a minute, it's not so great. Maybe America's more comfortable than India, but still, it's not, it gets cold here, right? There's traffic here, right? Things are expensive here, while all the bosses here aren't nice. It's still, it's like, wherever you go. I mean, and then you read in scripture about the demigods. They're being harassed by the demons. So even you go to the higher planets, then Hiranyakashipu comes and kicks you out, or Ravana comes in. So you look at this world and think, okay, if God loves me, why would he create a world like this? It doesn't seem like love. Like, you love your kids, so you say, let's go to Disneyland. You want to make it fun for them. So you're always preventing them from having to suffer, right? You always want to, here, let's go. You want a bicycle? Buy you some games. No, you should wear this, otherwise you get cold. You're always comforting them. So if you say, God loves us, why there's so much trouble here? It doesn't seem right. But he understands that if things are perfect here, then our interest in him won't be very strong, because we're here in this world because we've separated from him. And so interest in him is revived when he kind of nudges us through some troubles and pushes us. Because what you see otherwise, what do we see? People go to a temple when they go to church. Most of the time when they're going, they want to get something, right? So their connection with God is to get something. But it's only when there's trouble that they'll tend to rely or pray more or question. Okay. I mean, some people are stubborn. They suffer and they bounce back, and they really, really want to get ahead at any cost. But an intelligent person may stand back and say, oh, God, okay, why? So he does that to push us. And it's like this world, to get to that world, you have to get out of this world, and this world it's always pulling us. So when there's trouble, it's like the ropes are being cut, because the trouble makes us more detached. It's not so great, right? And I'm attached. I like enjoying and so many things I like to do. But when misery comes, you always question, well, cost-benefit analysis. Was the enjoyment worth the suffering? The price. Okay, you can enjoy it, but you have to get a body. And when you get a body, the body's going to get old. And it's going to get sick anyway when you're young, but it's going to get old also. That's not fun, right? No, you could get in a spiritual body. That's a better deal. And if you had the choice. What would you like? Eternity, knowledge, and bliss, or temporary misery, and some intermediate enjoyment. Now, and the other problem that Prabhupada explains is that it's actually a psychological problem, and it's very subtle, and most people don't realize it. But because we're eternal, this fear of death, it's not just that we don't know where we're going, but the living being's eternal, and that's so unnatural to not be in eternity. So then this existence we're in, it's not lined up with who we are. We are eternal, we're in an existence which is not. We're blissful, we're in an existence where bliss is not the nature. Our nature is knowledge, and we're in an existence where ignorance predominates. Confusion, misunderstanding. I don't know everything. Right? So, on a very subtle psychological level, where people don't even realize why they're not perfectly situated here. There's even the materialist, his life is not. It's not like, oh, Donald Trump is just always happy. I'm sure I would wager that if you work with Donald Trump, you find him not really like what you would call blissful. Probably, it's probably very heavy, very demanding. Probably gets angry a lot when people do stupid things. It's not. So, even if you become Donald Trump, it's not the ultimate position. So now, even Donald Trump, on some level, not consciously, at some level, is dealing with the fact that he's going to die. He's not perfectly in knowledge, and he's not always blissful. But as a spiritual being, he is. So there's this is like out of place. Like you ever been somewhere and you felt out of place? Like you were the wrong person in this group, social group, or whatever it was. It's like we're out of place here. So, when somebody wants to advance in spiritual life, then Krishna will help them understand how they're out of place. Sometimes he'll nudge them, sometimes he'll give them realization. But that's what we're supposed to understand, because then we can loosen up our hold. Because Krishna's up there, and the relationship is up there. And if we're too caught down here, we can't develop that relationship. We'll even maybe become afraid of it. It's like, it's just, will I be losing something? I mean, the fear. What do I have to give if I become Krishna conscious? What do I have to give up? I'm not ready to give up. Hare Krishna. Ashala. Carolina, Hare Krishna. Timothy, Hare Bol. If I become Krishna, what do I, someone comes, they learn about Krishna consciousness, something. Okay, what do I have to give up? And of course, those who are advanced in spiritual life don't think in terms of giving up. They think in terms of what they have, what they're getting. Like in the Gita, when Krishna says that when you get Krishna consciousness, then you think there's nothing better. So giving up is always a byproduct. But when we come from without the experience, then we're always looking at, what are they giving up? What do I have to give up? But it's actually giving up is you don't really give up as much as you let it go because you're in a better place. It's not like, look at us. We were as Americans, how did we give everything up? It wasn't even like we were trying. It just happened because we were going up. So, now, one of the most interesting things is that Krishna, he thrives on affection and love. That's what he wants. That's it. Right? And most people approach him and they want something from him. It's like, okay, let's say your brother is very wealthy. And let's say you're not doing well financially. So naturally, there's affection for your brother, but there's always this sense of, can you give me something? Which is kind of the curse of becoming wealthy. To become wealthy, don't tell anybody. Make $10 million and live in an apartment like this, no one will know. But once you start driving, BMWs and building big houses, then they know. So then you have all these people like, hey, you start to wonder, do they like me or do they like me because I have money? But why don't you just fly me to India? It's no big thing for you. Just find me a house there also. So we have this situation where it's very interesting because Krishna has everything and he can give you everything. And so here's this person who controls the universe, who can make anything happen, who can give you anything you want. And now you're approaching him and you're not asking for anything. It's like, you're like going bankrupt, your brother's a multi-billionaire, and you're just like helping him in whatever he's doing, and you're not asking because you just have so much affection and love. So that's what Krishna wants. Not that Krishna won't give you, but he doesn't want you to ask. And so that's the paradox, because he's the one that most people ask, right? When all else fails, pray to God. If your brother can't help you, your mother can't help you, nobody can help you. Govinda. Right? So there's this natural tendency. Well, he's God. He controls everything. He can do anything. He could make anything happen for me. So I guess Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. By the way, can you give me something like this or that? Can you help me with this? So that is that's kind of the difference between religion and spiritual life. Because in spiritual life, you cross over into a relationship based on love. In religion, it's not really a relationship. It's like many people approach God and they're approaching Him just because they want something. If they could get it from someone else, or if they could get it from another god, it wouldn't matter. Like you have this system, it's called Panchopasana, where people, they'll worship Ganesh, they'll worship Lord Shiva, they'll worship Durga, 5 gods they'll worship. And they'll want to get something. So to them it doesn't matter what they want. What's important for them is what they want. Who gives it? They'll worship anyone if they can get it. Just like you want to get a work permit, right? Or whatever you need to work in America, or you want to get permanent residency, let's say, for example. So you don't care who the clerk is, you just want whoever can give it to you, that's what's important to you. So people, go to this temple, worship this God. That's what's important is what I want, right? So that's what religion has become. It's not a relationship. It's to achieve something. And of course, if a person has a religious background, then they'll understand the gods will give it. The materialist will just, I'll do it myself. I'll figure it out and I'll do it. So if somebody's more religious and more pious, they'll say, well, I should go to God. But that's where the problem comes. Because that's not what it's about. It's about the relationship. And so Krishna, it's like Jasoda. She's getting mad at Krishna because he's stealing butter. So she's chastising him. He's doing a lot of naughty things. She's chastising him. So she's chastising him. She's running after him with a stick. And then Brahmins, they're chanting mantras glorifying him. You are the greatest, you're this, you're that. And so in the scripture it says that the chastisement of Mother Yasoda is so pleasing to him. Hundreds of times, thousands of times more pleasing than the hymns of the Vedas that these Brahmins are chanting. Why? Because there's not affection there. It's just reverential. And usually it contains a desire for something. And sometimes even worse, the Brahmins are just attached to the proper performance of the ritual. Because if you do the ritual properly, you get a result. And so it's like Krishna is like whatever, it's not that important. Right? So that's what spiritual life's about, and that's what we're trying to understand and we're trying to get. And so we kind of have to work our way through that conditioning, in our upbringing. You go to God, naturally. You go to a temple. Okay, you're going to take an exam. Go to the temple. You're applying for a job. Go to the temple. Somebody died. Go to the temple. It's like it's not wrong, but you'll go to the temple and you'll do Tulsi Parikrama because you want to get something, right? You're looking for the job, or maybe there's a problem in the family, health, finances, whatever. So you're going there, and then maybe you're getting a plate, banana, coconut, instead you're offering it, and then you're, oh God, bless us, whatever it is, right? You want to buy a new home, a new job, you want to go to America, whatever it is. So the action is not that important, but it's the consciousness with which the action is performed. It's not like Krishna needs bananas and coconuts. But if it's offered with love, then he appreciates it, because that's what he wants. So that's where most people are at. When they come say, oh, look at this person, he's coming, Mangalartik, and he's chanting and he's doing Tulsi Puja and so on. No, but he came because his son's taking an exam today, so he's praying to God. So Krishna will reciprocate, but it's not what he wants. And so it's difficult for many people to understand that spirituality is something different than that, and also difficult to become detached enough to do that. That's the hard thing, to understand. It's like we're always looking at God from the position of what we want and what He can give us. We're not looking at the position of what does He want from us. Like we chant Hare Krishna, and we chant and we want to feel good. But there's also, well, what are we to Him? Can we please Him by chanting His name? Can we be in the mood of, well, I'll please Him by chanting? Right? Instead of, well, will I be pleased? Will I be pleased when I chant? If I'm not pleased, well, I won't chant. It's not pleasing, so I'm not going to chant. Well, I'll chant a little bit. I'll chant 5 minutes. But after that, no. Finish. So it's like switching. Hare Krishna. I'm looking. I don't think we have chat on Krishna.com. At least I couldn't get on it. So if anybody's on Krishna.com, if you go to chat on Mayapur TV, on the top, right under Mahaprabhu's lotus face, you'll see chat. Oh, Timothy, I couldn't get there, so I'm going to try it again. Maybe I'll try it once more. You could tell them. Somehow my computer doesn't like Krishna.com. I can't get on. I don't know why. It just doesn't like it. So Timothy, if you can tell the people to come, to tell them I can't get on Krishna.com live. They have, on Krishna.com they have this nice chat window, but I'm broadcasting on Mayapur TV.
Okay.
And there's a small chat window. Everybody likes the Krishna.com chat window, but somehow or other I can't get on. Oh! Looks like I can get on. Maybe. Hold on. It's weird, we have 2 chat windows going on. My computer's slowing. Let's see if I can get on. Yeah, I got on. I'm on, okay. Alright, I'm on Krishna.com too. But anyway, if there's messages on Krishna.com, maybe Timothy, you can let me know, because it's hard to be on both at the same time. Anyway, I'll go back. I'll stay on Krishna.com. If I stay on Mayapur TV, then anyway, just communicate with me, so if anyone has any questions. Okay, so now this is then let's say we understand this. Like if you study, let's say you study Bhagavad Gita and you understand, okay, this is what Krishna wants. But even when you understand what Krishna wants, because of our conditioning, there's always this tendency to want to use bhakti or devotion to improve our material position, or maybe to improve a spiritual position, but a spiritual position which is not to love Krishna, but just to, like impersonalist, to become one with Brahman, or to achieve some self-realization, so to be blissful, but not, or even a yogi can see Krishna in their heart, but they're not serving. There's just, it's not the relationship is not fully developed. It's like a spiritual position. So in Krishna. So even when we understand it, still these things are going on. Where I want something, some benefit. So we call that karma, Mishra Bhakti. Bhakti, it has a little mixture of material benefit, or Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Even the desire to become free from suffering. Oh Krishna, I'm suffering, free me from suffering. It's not considered pure bhakti. Now, pure bhakti is, Krishna, I'm suffering, if you want me to suffer, that's fine. That's different. That's the goal. And it's hard to get there, because naturally, if we're suffering, we'll go to God and say, stop my suffering, especially if it's physical. It's very natural. But in any situation, it's natural when we're suffering to go to God. And it's not wrong, in a sense, or not bad, I would say, but it's not the goal. The goal is to come higher. So if you want to become free from suffering, it's called Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Because Jnana means knowledge which will free you from suffering. So it's sometimes it's an impetus. I'm suffering, let me go to God. That's okay, but then we understand that's not what he wants. He just pushed us that way. But he wants us to come to the position, even when we're suffering, we don't ask him. We just want to serve him. We want to, like we were talking last night about Prabhupada. There's a Vishali. Prabhupada had a disciple. The man's name was Vishal, and his wife was Vishalini. So Vishali. How do you say Vishali? Vaishali. Vaishali. If you're Bengali, you say Vaishali. So, talking about Prabhupada, what he did, and how he was able to do it. So, Prabhupada was in the consciousness that I only exist for Krishna. So there was no, it wasn't about him. It wasn't about, do I want to go to America? Well, America has better weather. Well, we could go to England, but England has good apples, so maybe we'll go to England. It wasn't like that. It was just. Prabhupada once said, how did he say it? He said, everything for Krishna, nothing for me. That was, he was saying, this is his mood. Everything for Krishna, nothing for me. So now he's coming to give people Krishna, and that's the only desire he has. There's nothing about, where am I going to live? How am I going to live? No, it's just, how can I give Krishna? That's pure love. Because you see it, so the example Prabhupada gives us is, where do we see pure love in this world? He said, you don't really see it because there's always some condition attached, like conflict in marriage. What's the conflict about? Well, I'm not getting what I want out of this marriage, right? You're not doing this, you're doing this, and I don't like it. So there's, that's not pure, right? So then you have children. Then it's like, okay, for the kids, you sacrifice anything. So then you understand, okay, that's a much purer love because there's no conditions. So Prabhupada would give that example, say that's the closest thing you get to pure love. So now you take a pure devotee who's only thinking, what does Krishna want? Their own needs, they don't think of because they just want to do what Krishna wants. That's why he was able to spread Krishna consciousness. He wasn't thinking, I don't like this, I don't want to do it, I don't like these people, they're driving me crazy, I'm just, it's like, this is what Krishna wants. So he is existing for the other person. That's a sadhu, he exists for other people. Because when you love God, that affection, that same affection that you have for God, it's also for God's children. It's like you can't have it for him and not have it for everybody else. It doesn't work like that. It's automatic, right? Affection, love. When you have affection for God, there's automatically part of that affection is affection for everybody else. So then the pure devotee comes and his affection for Krishna manifests his affection to other people. So the most important thing to understand from this is that bhakti is not as much about what you do, but the mood in which you do it. Now, if you look at like Brahmins, what we call smarta Brahmins, they're more focused on the perfection of the mantra pronunciation. How do you pronounce the mantra? To pronounce it perfectly. Or the ritual, how you do it. Right? And then, but if you look at Bhakti, at least Prabhupada spreading Bhakti in America, he's giving it to Americans who say Hare Krishna. It's actually Hare Krishna. They don't say Hare. Americans don't say Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. They say Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Or they say Hare Krishna. They're actually saying it wrong. They're not pronouncing the mantra. They don't even pronounce the word mantra, right? Say the mantra. How do you chant the mantra? So everything's wrong. The only thing that's right is the devotion, and that's more important than the pronunciation because it's not a ritual. It's an exchange of affection. Right? That's what Krishna sees. And some devotees they get their Gayatri mantras and they can't pronounce it properly. Prabhupada gives them the Gayatri mantra at initiation, and then he pronounces it, and then you repeat it. And so one devotee couldn't repeat it right, and Prabhupada just laughed. He said, useless. But you'll never pronounce it properly. He said, but Krishna understands your intention. Right? So in devotional service, the real thing is to serve without desire to get something from Krishna, because as soon as you want to get something from somebody, the relationship is not pure. Right? Just like, let's say you have a guru, right? So you have a guru, you want to serve your guru, right? Of course you want blessings, right? But it would be awkward if your relationship with the guru was all about material blessings. Guruji come and you serve him nicely and everything, and say, could you bless us that we expand our business? Could you bless us that my son gets into Harvard? And the guru is going to think, all the service they were doing is so I could help them materially. I mean, depending on your relationship, he might. If everything else, for years was just pure, okay, that's different. But if that was the motive, it's not the proper motive, because you approach your guru to advance spiritually, to serve, right? So it's the same with Krishna. It's not any different. And the guru, he's only interested in how to help the disciple, and the disciple's only interest is how to help the guru. So it's pure, and that's why it's so sweet, because it's completely pure. And the more pure any relationship is, the sweeter it is. And even we learn in the association of devotees and Vaishnavas that service should always be done to other Vaishnavas. Why? So we get something from them? No, we get their mercy, we get their kindness, we get their well wishes for our spiritual advancement, yes. But that's automatically, you don't have to ask, it just comes. But service, because that's what we're meant to do. Oh, Timothy has a good question here. He says, how do you purify this intention, even if it is as subtle as I chant so I can go back to Godhead, chant and be happy? How do you purify the mixed intention? Is it just by continuing to serve? Yes, but it's also understanding that you understand gradations of intention. You understand what is bhakti. First you understand the definition of what it is. And then, it's an interesting question, because there's two things. I think there's a distinction here. One's intention and one's desire. Desire takes longer to purify, but intention you can modify immediately. Like, let's say you have a desire to be very successful materially, right? And that's just how you are. And maybe you understand that ultimately, at some point in my life, I just have to go through this and get over it. It's not the ultimate thing, but maybe I just have the desire now, so I need to fulfill it, and I fulfill it, and I just have to do it. Like somebody climbed Mount Everest, and they said, "Why did you climb Mount Everest?" He said, "Because it was there." It's like, I had to climb it because it was there. So sometimes people are like that. We have an ambition. Why do you want to do this? Because I can do it. So let's say you want to be extremely successful. And so you're working very hard to be successful in whatever success means to you. But when it comes to devotional service, serving Krishna, then your intention in serving him is to just please him. It's not to become successful, even though you have the desire to be successful. So you keep that separate. And so I just want to serve Krishna so he's pleased. So I do some service, whatever it is. I pick a flower, I offer it on my altar and say, Krishna, please accept this. I cook something, offer it to Krishna, please accept this. I go to the temple, I clean the temple. It's just, I'm just doing it. I'm not thinking, clean the temple, I'll become more successful. Krishna will benedict me. The desire is still there. I still want to be, I want to be really successful. But I'm not cleaning the temple, I'm not doing the puja, I'm not serving the devotees, I'm not helping out with the desire for that. The desire is there. So Timothy, you have to distinguish between desire and intention, because intention can always be controlled. Desires tend to be more firmly rooted because of past conditioning. It's like someone might say, well, I have all these desires. I'm not a sannyasi. I want to be married. I want to have children. I want to have this. I want to have that. Okay, that's just there. So now you take those desires. Can I connect those desires with Krishna? And, so I make my kids Krishna conscious. Make my family. So I've connected all these desires. I want a nice husband, nice home. Now I'll have programs in my home. I'll worship deities. So you connected those desires, so still you're okay. So you have the home, you have the deities, you have the car, you have all these things, and then you use them to serve Krishna with the pure intention to satisfy him. You see the difference?
Yeah.
You see how it works?
Yes.
So the intent, the desire is like, okay, how many people are going to be sannyasis who have that desire? It's because they cultivated it in the past life. Most people want material comforts, they want family, they want all these things. All right, so that's normal. So now so let's say you get a better job, you can buy your own house. Then you could have 50 people here, right? 50 people won't fit here. So it's like, well, let's buy a bigger house. I like a nicer house. This apartment's too small, but we'll use it for Krishna. Then I can have bigger deities. So it's always, you realize it's your desire. Like for example, in America, we're raised with a lot of comfort, right? So I first went to India in 1975. So India in 1975, by our standards, was difficult for us, right? So our just standards of normal were, for most people in India, pretty high. That was considered pretty high standard of living. Well, for us in America, it was just how we grew up, 2 cars, a nice house, everything nice, right? So now we become devotees, and that's just how we are, that's what we desire, I grew up doing, I had 6 guitars growing up, so now I become a devotee, it's like, all right, I'll give away 1 guitar, I'll have 5, it's like, it's not a lot, 35's a lot, 5's not a lot, something like that, I had a car when I was 16, my own car, I took care of it. That's America, So we use all those things because we have those desires. We recognize we have them, so we use them, and they become spiritualized. But my intention, now that I'm using them, I want to do this to satisfy Krishna. So intention you have control of, Timothy. Desires you have to engage with the right intention. Because intention is really a choice. Okay. Otherwise, we go back to, I will do it, but I want Krishna to give me something for it. We just want love. That's ultimately what we should want is love. But if I do it with the wrong intention, that's bhakti covered with karma or covered with jnana. It's not pure. So pure bhakti is defined, you serve Krishna and any motive for jnana and karma or yoga. It's just to please him. And that's the same way you serve the Guru. And that's how you learn to develop pure bhakti for Krishna, because you do that with the Guru. And that's what it's easier to do for the Guru, because he's right there in front of you. You can, or other devotees, you can serve them. So we served Prabhupada. Whatever he wanted, we would do it. That was our connection. We weren't pure, but we served him to satisfy him. And that's pure. So you learn pure service through purely serving the Guru. You learn what pure service is by studying Scripture, by examples. And in Scripture you'll find examples of service that's pure and service that's not pure. And then you begin to understand the difference. Like, the story of Kubja. She was I believe she was a prostitute. And she invited Krishna over to her house. And she wanted, bring him in the bedroom and all that. But I believe what happened is Krishna, he touched her breast with his feet, and then she became purified of her desire. But her desire was not pure. It wasn't like the gopis who just want to love Krishna. Her desire was not pure at all. That was, she was attracted to Krishna, but not like the gopis. So, there can be this attraction, but it's not. So you learn in Scripture, okay, that's the wrong attraction. Now, then, what happens is, when the living being becomes purified, they develop a desire to connect with Krishna in one of 5 relationships. Or actually one of 4 relationships. So, we hear from the Scripture that the time Ramachandra appeared, when he was in the forest, there were some munis who developed a desire to have a conjugal relationship with him, with Krishna, by this association. And they became gopis in Krishna's pastimes. And they learned from the eternally liberated gopis who were with Krishna, because there were 2 kinds. Krishna comes down with all his devotees, and then their ones are going up. So then they get to come into the pastimes. And so then Krishna blew his flute for Ras Leela, but some of the gopis couldn't go because they were restrained by their families, because the Scripture said they weren't 100% pure yet. But they became pure because they couldn't go and they hankered to go, and that finally purified them. So even on that high level where someone is now in Krishna Leela as a gopi, still could get more pure. So pure. So you understand that even there was some attachment, some little something, they couldn't get to the Rasa Leela, Rasa dance. And then they became purified from that by thinking of Krishna. They're thinking, I can't go. And so, pure love, that's our nature. And it gets covered by all this other stuff. And all the other stuff is me. What do I want? What's important for me? What do I like? How will it make me feel? That's our conditioned state, isn't it? Yeah, it's all about me. I'm too hot, I'm too cold, I'm not comfortable. I want this, I like this, I don't like that. That's conditioned life. Yeah, that's what we're absorbed in. And spiritual life is, what does Krishna want? What will make him comfortable? Right? So, it's like, when Prabhupada was here, we sacrificed so much, because we stopped thinking about what's going to make us comfortable, and just tried to serve him. So that we learn, we understand, that's what purity is about. So then in answer to your question, Timothy, then yes, by chanting, that's what happens. You keep chanting, it'll become pure. But why are you chanting? What's the motive? The motive has to be for purity. Because you could chant Hare Krishna, and then you're in the same position. You're praying to Krishna for something else. Right? So chanting is purifying, but it has to be done in the right way. And the right way is asking for pure devotion. Otherwise, you could chant with a desire for material gain or spiritual liberation. So it's not the same chanting. 5 people are chanting, and each one is chanting for a different reason. Right? One is chanting because they think, if I chant, I'll become free from sin. One is chanting because their guru told them, and they don't want to chant, so they're just doing it because they want it. They have to now. Somebody else is chanting because they want material benefit, or some kind of spiritual gain, or freedom from some sinful reaction. And somebody else is chanting, is distracted and not concentrating, and someone else is focused to please Krishna. There's a completely different consciousness, and there'll be a completely different effect in their chanting. It won't be the same. Right? So we go back to intention. So even though we may have so many desires and we're not very advanced, the intention with which we chant. Right from the very beginning, you could have the intention. Krishna, I just want to please you. Right? You could have that intention. You're not very advanced, but Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I just want to please you, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare. You can have that right away. That's why bhakti is so nice, because like right from the beginning, you can get it right. You can do it right. You don't have to wait 100 years. Maybe you have to wait 100 years to get the full result of full purity, but the definition of pure bhakti is to serve with the right intention. So right from the beginning, you can do pure bhakti. Doesn't mean you'll be a pure devotee, completely pure, but you can do pure bhakti right from the beginning. Day one, serve Krishna without any motive. Well, that's what it's all about. And then when you understand that, then you look at other religious systems and you see how they're missing the mark in different ways. Oh God, give me this, give me that. Praise the Lord, He gave me a new car. Yeah. So God's very merciful, He gave me a new car. What about the fact that He put this obstacle in your life? You don't say praise the Lord then. You say, God, why did you do that? I don't understand. No, you say praise the Lord also. You put an obstacle which will help me. If that's what He wants to do, okay. I have to accept it. Does that make sense? Okay, Timothy says, well, we come to Krishna to be happy, does the desire go away? Yeah, it does go away. Because he's asking, well, will the desire to be happy ever go away? Yeah, it goes away because you become happy. You're going to put the...
Do you need that light?
I can tell you in a minute if I need it. That's actually good.
Yeah.
Turn it on and let me see. Light. See if we want to lighten me up. Yeah, that's okay. Now I have an effulgence. I have light on my head right now. I'm on Krishna.com chat. Now I have to fly over to Mayapur TV chat, which I lost that page. No, here it is. Let's go back to Mayapur TV chat. Oh yeah. Okay, we'll just stay on Mayapur chat. Do you have any questions, comments, arguments?
Yeah, I have a questions.
Vaishali has many questions.
Yeah, I have many questions.
I'll repeat.
So, I really want to advance in my spiritual life, but
Let me-
I'm still not doing it.
Let me repeat your question. I really want to advance my spiritual life, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah, it's somehow not happening. Every time I come from the temple Sunday, I think, okay, I have to do every day 16 rounds. I have
Yeah.
to. But somehow I'm not doing it. It's just busy with all other things, but I really
Right.
want to do it, but
Right.
that's not happening with me.
So Vaishali is saying she gets inspired when she goes to the temple.
Yeah.
And she gets determination, but fizzles out a bit when you deal with practical life. Yeah.
Right.
So here's the biggest challenge that I see in it's a huge challenge, because to do bhakti we have sadhana, which is our practice. So chanting 16 rounds is part of the practice, right? But we also have our lives. You have your careers, your mother, and so forth. So then it takes time. So then, it's like when you went to school, when you were studying. It was a very focused thing, and you really had to put your time and energy, and you probably stayed up late sometimes and got up early, and just so you could succeed. Sadhana is a bit like that. It's like you have to carve out this time in the day, and if you don't carve it out, then if you're trying to practice Krishna consciousness and trying to keep up with life at the same time, if you're not careful, life it'll just kind of, it's like water that's leaking. You ever see a movie it's like the Titanic, the water, it just comes, it takes, water will take over everything. So life takes over everything, isn't it? I think more in America than India. Or like you're saying, you drive an hour to work, an hour back, so that's 2 hours. Now, interesting thing that Prabhupada said, and we don't all have control of this, but right in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada said, he's talking about, you have material life, you have spiritual life, you have to maintain yourself. So the ultimate idea is maintain yourself as simply as you can. Now, that's difficult, because you have job, you have work, and they want you to work 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. You've got a project, it has to finish. And if you don't do it, they'll hire someone else who will do it. Right? So, let me tell you what Prabhupada said. This is very interesting. Everyone out there listen. So Prabhupada said, one should not work more than 8 hours a day. It's right in the Bhagavatam. Because he's dealing with this problem that you have your material life, you have your spiritual life, but if your material life gets too complicated, it's like the water that comes in, will just flood your life. Prabhupada talked about his father. His father was a cloth merchant, and this was his schedule. He would do puja, he'd do his bhajan and puja till noon, and he would go to work at noon, and then at 6 he would close, and he'd come home and do puja. So Prabhupada, in talking about this, he said he was a cloth merchant, and he said, but actually his real business was puja. So because he was such a pure devotee, such a bhakta, that naturally his life would adjust itself to the bhakti. You see, but we're coming from the sadhana platform where we're not there, so we have to kind of force our life to adjust as much as possible. So you look at your schedule, and you say, okay, this is my schedule, how am I going to be able to chant 16 rounds? What will I have to do? What time will I have to go to bed? What time will I have to get up? What time in the day? How many rounds can I chant before work? If I don't finish, when will I? It's like you really have to look at it like a science. When I became a devotee, I was going to college, and then I moved in the temple. And so the temple, we all got up for Mangalartik, and then we have 2 hours, like 5:15, 5:20 to 7:30 or so. We have 2 hours, everyone living in the temple. And in those days, Grihastas sometimes lived in temples also. So all of us was a community. So not a problem, right, to do it. And we didn't have to leave at 7 to go to work, or 8 or 6, whenever. We just went right through. We had Bhagavatam class. So that's easy. That's natural. And someday, when you're older and you retire, you can do that. But if you can get it together while you're a mother and you have a job, that's even, in a sense, better. You'll be stronger if you can do it. Because brahmacharis sometimes get lazy because they don't have these 9 to 5. Well, they're not 9 to 5 jobs anymore. They're like 9 to 7, right? Or 8 to 7, or 8 to 6, or 8 to 8, or 7 to 7, more like, right? By the time you leave and get home. So, brahmacharis, they go through the whole morning program, then they have breakfast, 9:30, then they have some service. If they're a little tired, they just go to sleep, get up, go out and Sankirtan, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, come back, 4 o'clock, 5, and. I mean, not all brahmacharis are like that, but that's the lifestyle, right? Janmashtami, they don't have to go to a job. Oh, I have to work on Janmashtami. The boss needs me. So, it's a little, it requires, in a sense, less discipline, whereas doing it here requires more discipline. And if you can do it here, you can do it anywhere. So that's the challenge in being Krishna conscious. So what has to happen is something has to shift internally in terms of your priorities. And you can only do so many things. And your life can only get so complicated to the point where it gets too complicated, then there's no time. And then the other thing is, which is very interesting, because there's a correlation between the energy level we have, how much we sleep, and our spiritual status. And so the more we get absorbed in material activities, they're not inspiring. So, like doctors say, sleep 8 hours, right? When I joined the temple, I was a college student. American college students sleep more than 8 hours. They sleep a lot, like 9. When I joined the temple, most of my buddies were sleeping 5 hours. So I went from 9 to 5. 5, 6, right? How to do that? How? Because there was this spiritual energy. How could we get up at 4 o'clock? Some college students go to bed I was going to bed at 3 in the morning some nights as a college student. Then I'd move in the temple and I'm getting up at 4 o'clock. How did I do that? There's a spiritual energy going on. So when you have good sadhana, it's like a domino effect, and it gets easier. It gets easier to chant. You like it. You somehow or other can figure it out, but when you're not, it becomes more difficult. So you have to take your determination, your inspiration that you get, and you have to put it in a practical system. See, sadhana bhakti, sadhana bhakti means practice. And what sadhana is you're doing the same things that elevated devotees do, but you're doing it for a different reason. Like, if I say, Vaishali, you should get up every morning at 5 and chant at least 8 rounds before you go out and do it. You say, okay, I'll do it. See, Mahatma asked me to do it, I'll do it. So why are you doing it now? Because I asked you to do it. I've given you a rule. That your motive is the rule. It's not because you want to, but it's a rule. That's called sadhana. In a higher stage of bhakti, you do it because you want to do it. You're doing the exact same thing, but the reason you're doing it is totally different. So the determination, inspiration is fine, but unless that inspiration, you can't depend on the inspiration until you're more advanced. You have to now take the inspiration into a practice, a rule. Okay, if I'm inspired, what's the rule? That's going to be my motive. But if you just go on inspiration, then, right? Then the inspiration's gone, then you don't do anything. So you have to take that and turn it into a rule. Okay, the rule is I get up this time, I chant this many rounds, I do this arti, So sadhana means you're doing it because of the rule. Your motive is the rule. You don't want to do it. I mean, ultimately you want to do it. You're making a decision that you want to do it. But when it comes down practically, like I chant 16 rounds because I'm initiated and I made that vow. So I made the vow when I was 19. Right? So how many days, it's been 44 years almost since I was initiated. It's like 43 and a half years ago I was initiated. So how many days is that? 43 and a half times 365. How much is that? Computer guys, can you figure in your head? Approximately?
How much is it?
43 years times 300, 43 times 365.
365 times 1, 3.
Okay, let's do 10. 365 times 10 would be 3,650, right? So 3,650 times 4.
12,000.
What's going to be? 3, well...
around 16,000.
Well, 3 years would be 1,000, right?
Yeah.
3 years would be 1,000, so 10 years would be... 3 years is 1,000, 30 years, anyway, 16,000 days. Anyway, so 16,000 days, that's a lot of days, right? Every day I'm making a vow, every day I'm going to chant. So the last 16, somehow or other, the last 16,000 days I did it, right? Did I want to do it all those 16,000 years? No. So why did I do it? Because of the vow. It was a rule. Now, I practiced Krishna consciousness for many years, so now I like to chant. So no, if Prabhupada came to me in a dream and said, you no longer have to chant 16 rounds, there's no way I would not chant 16 rounds. In a million years, I would never stop chanting 16, because I've developed an attachment and affection. I do it because I want it. I mean, I still have to do the 16, I have the vow, but I do it because I want to. That's a different stage. So until you come to the stage of wanting, you can't just depend on your enthusiasm. You have to depend on, okay, this is a commitment to a practice. I will do this every day. And then figure out how to do it. Because if you don't do that, your life will just, it'll be like the water, and you'll think, oh, I didn't have any time today to do this. Right? So the inspiration, the determination, will come in the association of devotees, right? And maybe now you're inspired. Well, we're having class tonight, so I'm inspired. I want to chant, tomorrow, when you get up and chant, right? But how is that going to? But what happens when the inspiration isn't there? Then it's the rule. That's what you do. See, that's Hare Krishna. I don't want to do it. And so by doing it, 1,000 days, 2,000, 10,000, 15,000, after a certain point, you come to the stage of ruchi, where there's taste. And when there's ruchi, no one has to ask you, do you like ice cream, do you like pizza? And anyone have to force you to eat it? No. Right? So it becomes like that. So that's but the point I was making is the challenges when you're married, when you have young children, is a tremendous challenge. Much bigger challenge. It actually requires more effort than the brahmacharis. The brahmacharis, if they're sleeping, someone's going to get them up. If they're chanting in the morning, they're nodding out, someone will wake them up. They can't stay in the ashram if they don't follow the principles, chant their own. So in that sense, they have a lot of support. So they don't need so much of their own self-regulation. But in Grihastha life, you need self-regulation, and then you're dealing with an atmosphere which is it's not spiritually supportive. You go to work, it's not a spiritual environment in most cases. I mean, you can try to make it spiritualized as best you can. But the brahmachari, he's he's preaching or he's doing service, so the environment is very conducive. So that's why I'm saying, if you can do it in this environment, then you really. Understand the environment is more of a challenge. So when you're more challenged, then you have to do it more carefully. Like you come home from work, maybe at the end of the day, you don't want to chant. You're just drained because it's draining. Right? The brahmachari, he comes home, he's been preaching, he's like totally inspired. Let's do kirtan and dance all night. That's So in the Shastra it says grihasthas should do deity worship. Because they're doing all these material affairs, at least if they do deity worship, they get purified. So you come home, you take a shower, put on a sari, do some puja. Offer arti to your deities, have kirtan, just like. So those things will give you energy. So when you do that at night, and then you make this vow, I want to get up early, you'll see you won't need to sleep as much. Because you'll be a little bit in a different space. But if you just come home and, it's just nothing spiritual, and then, it's going to be harder to get up early the next day. So do some puja, read some Krishna book like that. That's how it works. So you kind of have to really monitor your have some sadhana monitor. Otherwise, you won't be inspired, because work is just, it's not, unless it's in connection with Krishna, it's just, it's draining. It's just dealing with the modes of nature. I mean, you can read at work, or some people have these jobs where they sit around and read. It's one devotee, 16, if you do, 256,000 rounds. Wow. There's one devotee that has a job, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but he's been monitoring some equipment. He got some training for it, and most of the time he's just there like a fireman. He chants 32 rounds a day at his job.
Wow.
Krishna gave him that nice job because he's the temple president, and the job starts at 4 in the morning or something like that, and he gets out at noon. He's got the whole day to, the rest of the day to do his service in the temple. So Krishna gave him that. So, but I want to make this other point, and this is, I think, the most important point. That Krishna is reciprocating with all of us externally and through intelligence according to what we want. So whatever you want, Krishna will help you with it. But you just have to bring up the desire enough. Like if you want it a little bit, it's not going to be enough. If you want it enough, he'll help you, he'll inspire you, he'll give you intelligence, he'll make it easier for you to do all these things. That's how he works. And if you don't want it, he'll just, provide other things to distract you. And some of those things he provides to distract us are just tests. And Krishna's looking and saying, okay, what are you going to do? Vaishnavi, what are you going to do now? Kid's sick, they want you to stay late at work, so you're just going to throw your beads down and say, forget it, I can't do this? Or what are you going to do? You're going to sacrifice a little sleep, get up, chant your rounds. And then you might think, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. This is more important. Say, well, what if I'm sleepy at work? This is more important. I'll deal with it. I'll take a nap at work if I have to, see? So when you have that intention, that desire, then Krishna feeds into it and he gives you inspiration, intelligence. Not only that, he'll also make your material life easier. So he'll provide you a facility. If you want to do sadhana, he'll make it both internally and externally possible. But if your desire is weak, then the flood of material life will overcome you. That's my experience. And everything in your life is really just Krishna reciprocating, even when you're battling with Maya, material energy. It's just because you want it. And Krishna goes, and Maya goes, okay, here. It's not like Maya just fell out of the sky and fell on your head and didn't fall on somebody else's head. It was an accident. No, we want it, so it comes. You say, oh, Maya's so strong, or she challenges me, or this or that. No, that's because we're asking for it. She's not going to come around if you don't want her. If you don't need her, why will she come? So when we say Maya is very strong, it's just we're like magnets to Maya. So we're going to be magnets to Krishna. Then Krishna will come, and he'll make facility. Look at that devotee. 32 rounds at work a day. Amazing, huh? Perfect situation. Who arranged that? Right? That you want to serve Krishna in a specific way. Well, very interesting, I'll tell you. It was kind of confidential, but I think it illustrates this point. That long, long ago, early as the 90s, I had been approached by a few devotees, not a lot, to give initiation, and I just said no. I don't feel I'm ready for it or qualified, whatever. So then, through the years, I'd be approached, and I'd just say no. Although, Prabhupada wanted his disciples to initiate, for different reasons. And then I was approached a few years ago, 3 years ago, and I was starting to think at that time maybe I will have to do this, because I started to sense that more people are going to ask now. And so I was just traveling a lot and meeting a lot of people, so I sensed that more people are going to ask me. But I refused. When she asked, I kind of refused. I didn't commit. And then she pushed me, and she's on, she's not listening now. She pushed me. And I said, okay. Reluctantly, right? But I travel, I teach, I counsel, so I have relationships with people. But internally at a certain point I had to make a shift and say, I'm going to do this service. Because once you take the service of spiritual master, it's like becoming a father. It's like having children. Because now you're responsible for them. So you say, I accept you as my disciple. That means like whole life you're going to be connected with them. You're going to make sure, you have to make sure that if you have trouble, you have to help them. You always want to guide them. So it's like having children. You can't, and when they have problems, they tell you, and you deal with it. So that's a big responsibility. So at that point, at a certain point, I was resistant for so many years. And so this was from 1992, and then I was asked, I think, in 2011. So it's almost 20 years. And then even I resisted them. And then at a certain point, I had my reasons to resist. At a certain point, I dropped it. And literally, honestly, within that next week, I think, or 10 days, like 5, 6 people, they asked me for initiation. They didn't know that I would. So it's like Krishna sees where you're at, and then it's like, okay, now you're ready to do this service. Okay, here's some people. They need a guru. They'll take, and you're willing to do it. So I saw very clearly there was a resistance, and it didn't happen. And even I was resistant to go to certain places for preaching. And when I dropped that resistance, and the arrangements were made, and then I ended up there. It's interesting. So what's going on internally, Krishna is just monitoring it. And so if you have the desire, and the desire is not just, fizzling out very quickly, but is actually more steady, then Krishna he'll give you the mentality you need to pursue it, and he may even make external arrangements to make it easier. I mean, who knows? Maybe if your desire gets very strong, you'll get more time at home to work. I was just with another, so these things can happen, and I think a lot of times when we get sidetracked, it's because we're not careful, and Krishna says, okay, you're not careful right here. Here's more work, and more this, and more that. You kind of have, you have to take your steps carefully. So sadhana, that's what sadhana means. Sadhana is for those who don't spontaneously have a desire to serve Krishna. So they have to surround themselves with the proper rules and regulations. Right? Everyone listening out there, you understand? Sadhana means you do it because of the rule. In the higher stage, you do it because you have a taste, you want it. Yeah. Like, normally I rise early. Unless I'm doing something where if I rise too early, I'll just physically I'll get sick, or I won't be able to stay awake or something. But normally I rise early, and a lot of times, like I live in Mayapur, and I'm always in Mayapur. I think in 9 months, the latest I got up once was 5 o'clock. Other than that, I'm up every morning. 4, 3, 2. But it's not that I always feel like getting up. The body doesn't always feel like getting up. But Prabhupada wants us to get up. So then I get up. I'm like, hey, I just jump up. Like Prabhupada didn't like to sleep, so the point when I come to a point in my life where I don't want to sleep, just lay down for 2-3 hours, get up. Yeah, no problem. But before that, how do you get up? He said, well, spiritual master wants us to get up. So that's why we get up. Leave it to everybody. In the temples, everybody gets up early. If you told them you don't have to get up early, I can guarantee you 20-30% wouldn't get up. They'd rather sleep. Right? Especially in the winter, when it's cold. Who wants to get up? So why do you get up? So Prabhupada, if you study Prabhupada's letters and you'll see how important sadhana was. He always stressed it. Rise early, chant your rounds, 10 Mangalarti, all these things. And so if you look at the letters, you kind of get the sense it's like we're diseased, and this is the prescription of the doctor to do these things, because we're conditioned, right? So if you don't do these things, your conditioning will take over. And what's the conditioning? It's all about me, and I'm the center of the universe. That's my conditioning, right? So that's what takes over. So Prabhupada's saying, you do this, you're okay. Right? But if you don't, your conditioning is just you. It's all about you. then you'll approach Krishna, and it'll all be motivated by a desire for Krishna to give you something rather than you just wanting to give. But if you do the sadhana well, then naturally, because your nature is to be Krishna conscious, that's who you are. It's not unnatural. So this, like, we're talking, this whole class is about pure devotional service, but pure devotional, we'd think, well, that's such a high stage, and I'm so conditioned, I'm so fallen. No, that's our natural stage. What we're in now is not natural. So that if you do the process naturally, you'll come to this point where you love Krishna. It's just normal. That's the normal condition. It's not weird. We might think it's weird or impossible or difficult, but that's our natural condition. So by doing the sadhana, at a certain point, things start changing, and you like chanting, and you like getting up, and you like doing these things, and your material life balances itself out, and it becomes less important, less significant. Right? If I get the $100,000 job or the $80,000, it's like whatever, it doesn't matter. Even the $50,000, we'll just adjust accordingly, you know. But when you're not Krishna conscious, that $100,000, you'll sacrifice your japa to get the $100,000 job. You have to work 13 hours a day. You'll take it, you know. If I get the 100,000, then 3 years I can buy the house, and 4 years I can get the Mercedes, you know. That's where you'll be, because that's the consciousness. But when you become more Krishna conscious, it's like, no, I'm not going to sacrifice my spiritual life just so I can get a bigger house. You change. Priorities shift. And that'll naturally happen. You don't even have to try. Your life will shift. If you chant nicely. Yeah. That makes sense? You have another question?
I have other questions, but I don't know how long they can sit.
Ask what are the questions here?
Okay, and I'll repeat your question. Yeah.
I have one more question. So we as both of us, we came in contact with ISKCON, the Krishna conscious life. So with me also the same thing used to happen. I used to go to the temple before coming to the ISKCON because I want my exam is coming. I have to go to the temple.
Right.
I need this job. I had to go to the temple.
So she's Vaishali saying she used to go to the temple because
I used to
pray,
go to the temple
to get something, you know.
Right.
Before the exam, before the interview.
Right. And to be honest, I'm born in India. So at my home, my mom is like, she's always busy with the pujas and all.
Yeah.
But no one really explained me what the bhakti is.
Right.
Why I should be doing it. My mom, I'm not questioning her. She really has a bhakti, but no one explained me. So I always look at the God as like, okay, he's going to give me something.
Right. So
I have problems, and he's the some who's provider.
Okay. So we can address it. So she's saying, by her upbringing, she sees God as the one who can solve your problems and give you things, and pure bhakti was never explained in the home. So now, how to deal with this in the present stage?
So now we came in contact with ISKCON. Now we started understanding what Prabhupada wants to tell us.
Can you turn the air conditioning up a little? Because I'm going to get a sore throat.
Okay.
Up means warmer.
Do you need a water?
No, I'm good. I know what you're saying.
Okay, so now we are in contact with ISKCON. So it's in my family, it's just me and my husband are in contact with ISKCON. The entire family is not in contact. They're still at the same stage.
Right.
So there will be a point in my life, like I had to be with them because they're part of my immediate family, my parents, his parents, my sisters. I try to.
Can you all hear this? I have to repeat it just to make sure. So now she's saying, are you asking two questions? How to deal with it in your personal life and adjust to it, or just how to adjust to it within your family, your greater family?
Just to adjust with my greater family.
Okay.
I want to stick to my principles of ISKCON. I believe them. I
Right.
trust them. I know this is something I want to do it. I believe why Prabhupada is saying you should not eat meat. I trust
Right.
that. Because that's why when I started with ISKCON, I read about it, why he's telling us not to eat meat and non-veg stuff. And I stopped eating about that because I trust his words.
Right.
But my family don't trust that.
Okay. So she's saying your family doesn't follow the principles that you're following.
No.
And so how to adjust to that?
Right.
Well, fortunately, your family's in India, right?
Right, but if I move there, if I
Oh,
go
if you
there,
go back there, that's the... Maybe you should look for a job in a city where they don't live.
that will not happen. So that's not everybody, you
Okay,
know. They
so
need
so they have
every
to
day.
they have to understand. I think it's as they have to understand your principles, why you're doing it, and respect it, and then it will be awkward for you to try to change them. The only way I think that they might ever change is by seeing how your life is better, how you've improved, how you're happier. But children trying to change parents is not normally doesn't work.
Right. I always, when I talk with them, I try to explain them. Like when we go to the program, when we see some Swami's lectures,
Right.
I try to convey them something. But it's just, they just think, you don't need to leave your eating habits.
Yeah, they don't understand. No, so what you're dealing with is you're dealing with a culture, right?
Right.
That they're in, and unless a person wants to change, wants to progress, and most people, they just want to keep their life the way it is and use religion as a means for improving their material life.
Right.
And just by telling your parents that you don't eat meat, subtly it's telling them that they're doing something wrong, or not consciously, but and nobody wants to think that they're a bad person and they're doing something wrong. So typically in India, because India has become modern, so then the rationale will be, well, we're modern and previously we weren't modern, so actually there's really nothing wrong with eating meat, and that was just,
Right.
you know, they'll rationalize it in some way. So if you understand, it's kind of funny because so many Americans become vegetarian, where Indians are arguing that, you know,
Right.
you should eat
They
meat.
are arguing with me. So they're
Yeah.
telling, why are you not giving to Chaitanya? Like, you don't eat, give it to him.
Yeah, so that is, so she's saying, like, her parents will say, well, you know, her parents are meat eaters, so they say, well, you should give your, yeah, it's basically ignorance. I mean, there are diplomatic and practical ways to deal with it, just on the basis of giving them information about health. Say that, you know, and, you know, say this is why we're not doing it, aside from the spiritual, you know. But one of the ways that my wife sometimes would deal with situations with her family was, you know, just say, well, this is what we believe and this is what we're doing, and kind of like, it's not negotiable, you know. It's like, we don't need to talk about this because I'm not
Right.
doing this, you know, like we're wasting our time, you know, in a polite way, like this is my conviction, this is what I'm doing. So rather than debate about it, it's better you just have to, you know, accept. I mean, I can explain to you why I'm doing it if you want. If you don't want to know, that's fine, but you have to honor that because this is the decision I'm making. And you do what you want, that's fine. I'm not going to bother you about what you're doing.
Okay, so maybe I'm bothering them.
I mean, you're probably bothering one another.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's just the parent. They want to control the kid. And so sometimes you have to say, I'm married, this is my decision. You know, I mean, Indian families, they know once you get married, you're out of their hands. So you have to keep reminding them, Mom, I'm married, this is my decision. And she'll respond to that, because, right, that's the any way she'll respond within her cultural paradigm is the way you have to approach it. You know, I'm married, this is our decision as a family, and so this is what we're doing. So we don't need to debate it. I just, you know, this is my decision. This is what Bhakti's about, and maybe down the road something will change.
Right, maybe.
But if you have the aspiration for them to change, that'll be your frustration.
That's what I have, and maybe that's my frustration.
Yeah. Because what I've seen is, if the family is inclined, then when the children become devotees, they'll take interest, they'll come to the temple. they'll change. And if they're not, they won't. If they don't want to change their life, if they're happy the way it is. You see, a lot of people, you go to India and you try to teach people something, and they say, well, we already know all these things. But really what we already know all these things means is we don't want to change.
Right.
That we know these things the way we want to know them.
Right. Yeah.
Right? That's what it means. But then you do find people that want to change, that will, listen to us Americans. We're Yavanas. We're like outside the culture. We're Americans. But people will listen to us. Why will they? Because they want to change. Because they realize we got something from Prabhupada that they never got. There was this nice letter that Hriday Maharaj wrote. Someone was inquiring to him about saying he didn't, something to the effect that he didn't think Prabhupada was so great or see Prabhupada in the light that we all do. And one of the nice things that Hriday Maharaj said, which is very interesting if you think about it. The duty of the Guru is to represent a disciplic succession, a sampradaya. That's what he does. He doesn't make anything up. He preserves it. And so Hriday Maharaj said that Prabhupada takes the sampradaya siddhanta, he brings it to America, he practically applies, but he's to the culture and to the people, but he's very careful to preserve the siddhanta. That's what he did. He through all the scriptures that taught bhakti, he preserved exactly as it is, to give it to us in a way we could understand it without changing it, so it could keep going for the next 10,000 years, and people would get the same thing that had been given through Brahma, Krishna, all the way down. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're receiving. That's what we're getting. What Prabhupada gave us, we're taking it. It's a siddhanta. And most people in their lives, they don't want siddhanta. They want their own siddhanta, whatever, got made up and hodgepodge this and that, and you can't come and shake them up. So, but what Prabhupada gave is very specific. And that's why it's very structured, and it has its parameters. It's not like whatever. Yeah, we know all these things. Whatever. My grandmother taught me all these things. We know. Not like that at all. Because if you look at Prabhupada's preaching, he's correcting so many misconceptions, isn't he? So many misconceptions of how people think. He's challenging, correcting, chastising. Sometimes. If you study Prabhupada's teachings, everything he said, more chastising than anything. More chastising than complimenting. That's what he's doing. And there's certain people who like it, because they know they need it. But until your parents know they need it, they're not going to like it, especially from you.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's better for you in this situation, just say, this is what we're doing, we're not pushing it on. I don't want to push it on you, but this is our decision. And let's see how it goes.
Right.
And it's one thing if people are in ignorance. It's another thing if they have knowledge and they misconstrue it, then it's worse. The Prabhupada said it's worse for an Indian to eat meat than an American. Because Americans don't know. We don't know. Our scriptures don't say it's wrong to eat meat.
Right.
So we're innocent. I mean, not that there's not karma, but when you know it's wrong, India is the largest producer of beef in the world, largest exporter of beef in the world. And how did that happen? Crazy, huh? Crazy, right? India is the largest exporter of beef. There's all these paradoxes in India, like supreme paradoxes. You get all these gurus who are giving money mantras and Lakshmi mantras and this and that. Give you a secret mantra. We'll get very wealthy. That's what a guru does. It's all. So Prabhupada's bringing this very pure line of pure bhakti. And if you study other philosophies and traditions, you'll see that pure bhakti is very rare. It's not within many People don't pick up on it. Because it requires getting yourself out of the center and putting God in the center. In most religions, people rather keep themselves in the center and then bring in God as a support system to help them in their material life. So the material life's continuing, they're bringing in God because they're pious, so they realize if they get God on their side, they'll even get more wealth and more success. So I might as well, I don't want to do anything. If I do something sinful, because they know sin is bad, I won't get a good result. So I'll do something dharmic and I'll get a good result. So the dharma is there to get the good result. Dharma, then artha comes. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. I'll do the dharma, get the kama. So that's good, but it's supposed to keep going. But most people just stop with the artha. Do the dharma, get the artha, and the kama, and then everything's good. Well, what about liberation? No, we'll worry about that when we're old. I was just with my in-laws, my wife's parents. Her father's 82, her mother's in her late 70s, and we were staying. They stay in South Florida, and they stay in a subdivision. It's mostly retired. I think you have to be over 55 or something. But I would say most of the people I see are in their 70s, right? So in this area they have I don't know what it is. It looks like a conference center, but I think it doubles as a game room. So they play cards, bridge, poker, whatever they play, right? So I was walking and I popped my head in and I saw all these men. Some looked well into their 80s, and a lot of them just looked like they didn't really have much energy to do anything more than play cards. They were like, a lot of them were pretty old. And materially, all these people, they're all intelligent, successful people. And they're playing cards, right? So I live in India, so the system is when you're older, you see so many couples, they're going to Vrindavan, they're going to pious people, they do these things. So here, this is American culture. When I saw that, I turned to my wife and said, now you see everything that Prabhupada said in condemning Western culture. He said, this is the result of Western culture. I just saw it today. 80-year-old men who could die at any moment are sitting around playing cards. That's the end result of materialism. Isn't it?
Right.
And you can retire nicely, have a big bank balance, sit around, play golf, play tennis, play cards, sit by the pool, play with the grandkids, and go to hell in your next life. That's the result of Western culture. That's what we've got, right? Right? Isn't it? It's like now, look at Prabhupada's books in that light. Study Prabhupada's books from that light, and you'll see when he's putting people down, chastising this philosophy, criticizing this philosophy, chastising this person, correcting this religion, you'll see it all. Why? Because materialism is supporting all these systems, and that's where materialism takes you. Or you have spiritual philosophy, which takes you into void, nothingness. There's no God. You're God. So where does that take you? Right? So what's the end result of all these philosophies, materialism, You die in ignorance, or you spiritually die in ignorance.
Right.
So, your parents are pious, but they want God to help their material life. But if they do anything sinful, then they have to suffer. The best way to speak to Hindus is to tell them that what you're doing will cause you to suffer, and show them in Shastra. That will get their attention.
I'll try.
If you can show Shastric evidence and say, this, what you're doing in your next life, in this life and your next life, you're going to suffer tremendously for these actions. This is considered highly... Do you know cow killing, meat eating, cow? It's considered the most sinful of all sins.
Right.
Well, the Prabhupada said the grossest form of ignorance is cow killing, meat eating. It's an extremely sinful reaction for that. It's like Prabhupada said, all right, you want to eat meat, just don't eat the cow. Eat anything, but don't eat the cow. Cow is a tremendous... There's other animals, to eat them, it's not so sinful, but cow, that you'll suffer like anything. Tell your family to go to a farm and spend a week with cows.
Yeah, I'll try.
Anyway, but if you, that's my experience, if you can show somebody that what you're doing will cause, it's causing you suffering, they'll listen. Say, listen, this is what the Shastra says about this. Because otherwise people think, no, it's okay, everybody's doing it,
Right, yeah, on top
Right?
of that...
If everybody does it, it's okay.
Right.
Not sinful anymore.
Right.
Like, that makes sense, right? It was sinful 100 years ago. But now, because everybody does it, it's not. No, but there's no bad karma anymore because everybody's doing it.
I know, yeah.
See, that's the problem with America, because America, they don't have dharma, so they have morality. But morality is what's their morality? It changes every 10 years, right? So, meat eating's not bad in America. So you come to America. Indians come to America who've never eaten meat, and they start eating meat because everybody's doing it. So it must not. And Americans are so advanced, so it must mean that maybe we're just Indians are crazy, right? That we don't eat meat. The Americans are like, look how successful they are, right?
Right.
See, we as Americans have a very interesting take on Indian religion because we didn't grow up with it, so we're not confused by it. It's not like we're not conditioned by it, so it's very easy for us to see what it is. That's very clear. We don't have to extricate ourselves from it because we're never part of it. And from us as Americans, having lived in America and given it up, it really saddens us when we see Indians adopting Western ways, because your culture is so much higher than American culture. So when you adopt American culture, it's a huge downgrade. You think it's an upgrade, but from our perspective, it's a huge downgrade. Maybe materially it's an upgrade. And even now in India, materially, it's so, it's so nice there. Not so nice, but nice. But it's a huge downgrade spiritually. Unless, you come and meet the Hare Krishna devotees in America, then it's good. Right?
Yeah, so it's a good thing.
You see, there's dharma and there's morality, and dharma and morality are two different things. And morality is always adjusted. 50 years ago in India, you could not talk, men and women could not talk in school. If they talked in school, that was like huge scandal. Just they talked. They're in the same class every day in the same class, right? So now you say, don't talk to a woman, people think you're nuts, right? Why? This is a different culture. Things have changed. Right? So as it changes, morality changes, what was taboo once now becomes normal. So then, dharma is, fire is hot, that's dharma. It's not 100 years from now, it's still going to be hot. So this is how it is. That's dharma. Morality is just adjusted. I mean, most of the morality came from the scriptures, came from the Bible. Don't steal, don't kill, it was all the Bible. Then it became law. So that's the way it's supposed to be. But now it's like whatever. Now they don't say don't have sex before you're married. They say use contraception. That's America. It's a really bad place. When you actually dissect it, what's going on, it's a really bad place. Your children go to school and they're going to learn the universe came from a bang. That consciousness comes from chemicals, there's no soul. And that if you believe that there's a God who created, and you believe that consciousness comes from the soul, that's your faith. But here we're teaching science. That's what they learn. And unless you train them, they're going to grow up and doubt everything. And they're going to learn to look at Hinduism as weird. That's American. That's American culture. And they want you to work hard, build up a lot of credit, and just keep working. And overspend. That's what they want you to do. it's it's not a benevolent. I mean, there's so much opportunity here, so many good things about the government, but the Vaishyas are the ones who rule, and the Vaishya is all about money. If you get sick in America and you don't have good health coverage, you'll go bankrupt. Right? It's a business. So when the Vaishyas, start running things, everything goes down. And America's it's a country that developed because of Vaishyas. There's no monarchy in America. There's no Kshatriyas. It's all Vaishya. And the healthcare industry went downhill because the Vaishyas took care of it. Before that, it was fine. Go to a doctor, pay him $5. No, right? Now you pay a doctor, $60, and you're lucky if he talks to you for 2 minutes. Right? That's the Vaishya system, isn't it?
Yep.
And he's writing a prescription drug that you're going to need another drug to take to counteract the effects of the drug he's giving you. And you hope that in 10 years they don't find that this drug caused cancer. This is modern medical system in America. Right? Nothing about diet, nothing about exercise, nothing about doshas, nothing about herbs. We grew up in America. We saw what's going on, how it's changing. So I'm not saying they're not good things, but and the result, when you're 80 years old, you play cards. That's the result of American culture, and then you die. It was depressing. I mean, to see that, it was a shock. It was like when I saw it, I said, "Here it is. Everything Prabhupada said about Western culture was now personified in these 80-year-old men playing cards." I said, "That's the result. You can retire and play cards and die in complete ignorance." That's it. So look at Indian culture; it understands these things. It's so Indians come to America. A few generations, they'll lose it. A few generations, Say, yeah, well, my grandfather was a Hindu. Yeah, you know anything about it? No. What are you? I don't know. Whatever, just do whatever you want. That's what's going to happen. Right? All right, we better stop. We've gone from 7:30 to we've got an hour and a half. Is that all right with you out there? We can stop. We have eaten, so now keeping all these people hungry. They might curse me.
No.
Keeping them hungry.
No, it's all
Anyway.
nice to hear you.
Anyway, I'll entertain another question if you have. If not, we'll end. Of course, you don't have to stay. You can leave anytime you want.
I asked my question yesterday only.
Okay.
When I was driving to Walmart, right, I asked my question to him.
I was in Rochester about 4 years ago, and I gave a talk. And one of the things I said, it just came to me. I said that I think Indians are the most wealthy or successful minority in America. Right? And it seems like most Indians to be employed in America must have done quite well in India in school, right? So, and I was saying, well, why don't you apply yourself the same way to spiritual life that you did to material life? But there's this tendency to apply it all to material life and not apply it to spiritual life. Right? So you worked hard. You worked hard in school. Now you work hard in your job. You're disciplined. You couldn't be successful if you weren't. You need the same thing for Krishna consciousness. You need self-discipline, you need determination, you need to apply yourself. You need to give up some things you want to do because you have to apply yourself. You may want to go to the party, but you have to study, so you study. So I said, at least as much as you succeed materially, you should succeed spiritually. At least balance. Of course, Prabhupada would say succeed more spiritually, but at least the effort you make for your material, at least that much you make for your spiritual. Then you have no problem, right?
Yeah.
You'll be fine. So it's that's again the influence of materialism. It's all about money, how much money, how many zeros you have on your bank balance. That's success. Prabhupada used to say, he said, look you're building all these skyscrapers, you're struggling, it takes so much work, so much energy, so much money. And he said, 100 years, 50 years, where are you going to be? You know? You've built this, but you're not going to be here. So that was Prabhupada's point. You're working so hard, but you know, it's all going. So don't do it at the cost of your spiritual life. That's the idea. Balance it. Keep it balanced. Western culture, it's hard to balance because it's way out of balance. People go to church for 1 hour on Sunday, not even everybody. That's the extent of, you know. And a lot of those sermons are about how to get ahead materially. So it's not even that spiritual. And they don't know who God is, and they don't know what He does. They really don't understand pure bhakti. So there's not a whole lot going on here spiritually. And there's a lot of so-called spiritual people who are not, who talk like they are. But if you followed them around and looked at their life, you'd realize they're not. So when you compare everything to pure bhakti, then it, you know, I'm not saying that there aren't spiritual people and like that, but when you compare it to pure bhakti, then you understand who is and who isn't. And there's a lot that claim to be that when you compare it to what is pure bhakti, they're not. In the beginning of the Bhagavatam, it says, this book, Dharma projito kaitavoto, nirmatsaranam satam. Said, this book is for those who want pure bhakti. It's not for anybody. It's not for people who want religion for some material benefit. It's not what the book's written for. And in fact, very interesting, I don't know if you're aware of this, Vyasadeva compiles the Vedas, right? And then his spiritual master, Narada Muni, at one point, after he compiled all the Vedas, which you would think is a great task, he chastised him. Because a lot of what's in the Vedas is how to use religion to progress materially. And he said, why did you do that? And he said, people are already materially inclined, and now you made it worse. He chastised him. He said, now write a book solely about pure bhakti, and that was the Bhagavatam. It has no material religion to it, no flavor. So that's the statement of the book. This is why we wrote the book, for those who talks about pure devotion who want it and like that. So Narada Muni chastised Vyasadeva for putting anything that didn't have anything to do with pure bhakti. And that's why Indian religion is so complex, because it has so much you can do that looks like it's like you can do the same things that the bhaktas do, but it's for a totally different reason. And then people don't know there's anything wrong with it. Right? You understand? Everyone out there in Mayapur TV land, you understand? Yeah. Now, taking what we spoke about tonight, if you read Prabhupada's books, you'll see how everywhere in his books he talks about this pure devotional service. That's the goal, pure devotional service. And then we go back to your question, Timothy's question, can I do pure devotional service? Yes. You serve Krishna with the desire to please Him, that's pure devotional service. So everybody can do it. That's what it's all about. And then we'll all be happy. And if we go on just trying to make ourselves happy, we won't be happy, because it hasn't worked. And we've been in the material world a long time and it hasn't worked, and we've had a long time to practice and try to make it work. So it's mercy, it's Krishna's mercy when it doesn't work. And there's nothing wrong with being happy materially. You know, you live a religious life, you'll be happy materially, there's nothing wrong, unless it causes you to forget Krishna. Now it's interesting, you know, like, there's this really nice story. Listen to the story. I may have told this before, but it's a really good story. The demigods were in trouble and they went to Vishnu. And he said, okay, I'll solve the problem. He said, by the way, would anybody like to go back to Godhead? Back to the spiritual world? Like, we can make that arrangement now. So you imagine you're a demigod. Pretty nice life, right? Far beyond Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and whoever, movie star or rock star, take the most beautiful, wealthy people, not even close, right? Can't even imagine. So demigods are, everything's good for them, like very good. And so none of them accepted. And you would think, if Krishna offered you to go back to Godhead, say, yeah, let's go. Krishna can take the whole family, I might miss them, but yeah, let's go. Because here, what are you going to be missing? This apartment, this, snow in Connecticut, it's not like a whole lot to miss. But as a demigod, I don't know, I have to think about this, life's good. So that's the problem of material opulence. That even Krishna offered the demigods, they didn't take it. That's crazy, isn't it? But it just shows what happens when there's a high level of material enjoyment. It's interesting, isn't it? You think, oh, I would take it. Well, if you're a demigod, maybe you wouldn't. Or say, well, I'll take it later. Let me live, for another 10,000 years. This is nice. I can fly around with my girlfriends and, take somarasa. And life is good. I don't have to work. I don't have to sit in front of a computer all day until my eyes get blurry. And find out 20 years from now my brain doesn't work because of the radiation from the computer destroyed it. I don't have to do that. So there was another story when Narada Muni offered to take a man back to Godhead, and he said, yeah, but just come back later. A few things are going on. So that's the unfortunate condition. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Everything's clear. Everybody says they're clear. Okay, we're all pure devotees. At least we can all be doing pure devotional service. Okay? Right, now we're going to do pure devotional service by purely eating, purely honoring Mahaprasadam.
Yes.
Okay? Okay?
Hare
So
Krishna.
thank you all. Hare Krishna. And we'll see you next time. Next Tuesday night, yeah. Okay, Hare Krishna.